Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating idea from a 1989 lecture by Radhanath Swami. It was delivered in Mumbai, and it's all based on a verse from the ancient text Srimad Bhagavatam. And it poses a huge question. What if the path to spiritual freedom isn't this exhausting, impossible uphill battle? What if it's actually something, well, much simpler, something that pretty much anyone can do? Let's unpack that. Okay, so to really get why this simple path is so revolutionary, we first have to look at its total opposite. Let's call it the impossible climb, a spiritual journey that's all about extreme struggle and self-effort. In his lecture, Radhanath Swami paints this incredibly vivid picture of yogis up in the Himalayas, pushing their bodies and minds to what seem like superhuman limits. Every single thing they do is part of this attempt to literally climb their way to the absolute truth. I mean, just look at this stuff. This slide really gets to the heart of what the lecture calls the ascending process. It's a path of just pure, raw willpower, where people are trying to achieve spiritual freedom completely through their own incredibly grueling efforts. When you see the sheer intensity of all that, you just have to wonder, is this really the only way? Is this nearly impossible, exhausting climb the only option on the table for liberation? Well, the lecture argues that, yes, there is another way. And it's not a passive climbing at all. It's a path that's built around a simple but really profound promise, a kind of divine gift from Lord Narasimhadeva. And right here, this is the core of it all. This is the promise. And it just completely flips the script. Suddenly, liberation isn't about conquering the divine through your own suffering. It's about connecting with the divine just by hearing and chanting these stories. And this is where the whole idea gets really radical. Radhanath Swami explains that an innocent person who just sincerely enjoys hearing these stories, well, they can actually make more spiritual progress than all those yogis in the mountains. It completely redefines what spiritual advancement even looks like. So how does this actually work? I mean, if it's not about earning your way to the top with all this effort, what's the mechanism here? Well, it's all about a fundamental shift in our attitude, from trying to achieve something to instead learning how to receive it. This chart just perfectly lays out the two completely opposite approaches. You've got the ascending path on one side, which is you trying to climb that ladder all by yourself. But then you have the bhakti path, which is all about attracting blessings through a sincere attitude of service. You see the difference? You're not trying to achieve grace, you're trying to attract it. But if it's really that simple, why doesn't everybody just do it? Well, the lecture points to this major psychological roadblock, something that can totally block this entire path of hearing. And that inner enemy is envy. Just think about it for a second. If deep down we want all the praise for ourselves, it's impossible to truly take pleasure in hearing about the greatness of anyone else, whether we're talking about divine figures or just the people around us. So how in the world do we fight this envy? The lecture gives us this brilliant little mental tool, the mirror analogy. The idea is, when you see a fault in somebody else that really bothers you, just stop. Instead of pointing fingers, see it as a mirror, a reflection of something inside you that needs a little attention. It's an incredible shift from judgment to self-awareness. Now, while this path of hearing is simple, it's not exactly a quick fix. The result is absolutely guaranteed, but it does require a very special kind of patience. The scriptures say that this freedom comes in due course of time. And Radhanath Swami uses this beautiful analogy to explain what that means. A newly married woman, she can't just expect a child on day one, right? A baby is the natural, guaranteed result of a patient, loving relationship. And in the same way, spiritual realization is a guaranteed outcome, but it unfolds gradually through sincere, patient practice. So the real key here is that even though the journey itself is gradual, the destination is absolutely certain. It's backed by a divine promise, like this one from Lord Krishna. You will come to me without fail. For those who are sincere, the outcome is guaranteed. Okay, this brings us to a really crucial point. If hearing is the key to everything, does it matter who we're listening to? Well, according to this lecture, the source is absolutely everything. And the lecture gives a pretty stern warning here. Not all glorification is the same.
Hearing the right words from the wrong source isn't just ineffective, it can actually be spiritually poisonous.
To really illustrate this danger, the lecture uses this incredibly powerful analogy. The glories of the Lord, they're like pure, nutritious milk for the soul. But if that milk is touched by the lips of a serpent, which represents a speaker with a harmful, impersonal motive, it becomes poison. The right message from the wrong source can be spiritually deadly. So in the end, the lecture brings it all back to one simple, profound truth. All the complex philosophy, all the scriptures, all the arguments, they're all designed to lead us to this single point, just learning how to sincerely hear and chant. This simple act, it's presented as the very essence of spiritual life.
And so, that really leaves us with a simple but pretty powerful question to think about. If our spiritual progress really depends on what we enjoy hearing, then what are we listening to? What stories, what glories, whether they're divine or worldly, are the ones that truly capture our attention? The answer might just tell us a lot about where we are on our own path to freedom.